Okay, Algebra 1, we are starting our first day of notes and content today. So I want to show you how you can get to the class notes. So click on your section. I guess you're either 1B or 2B, whatever's showing up in your Microsoft Teams. All right. Once you're here, make sure you're on this General tab right here, or Channel, whatever they call it. Once you're there, you're going to click on Class Notebook up at the top. And if I'm going too fast, just pause me. All right, as Class Notebook is loading, you'll see this little greater than sign. Go ahead and click it. All right, so what I did is I uploaded the guided notes in the content library. So they're in this section, but I also distributed it to everybody's class notebook. So if you open up your class notebook, man, this OneNote is forcing me to speak slower because it's taken so long. Buffering, buffering, buffering. Jeez Louise. All right, here we go. Unit 1, Packet 1. So that's in the content library, but I've also distributed it out to every student. So when you expand your notebook, you should see a Class Notes tab. Look right here under Unit 1 Guided Notes. This was what was distributed to everybody, and it has the Word document. So as you're watching the video, you can do a lot of different things. You can print this Word document and actually write your notes by hand on the printed copy. You can open up this Word document and save it on your computer. I think if you open up the Word document and save it, it should automatically update this Word document in the guided notes. You could also take notes off to the side here. It's completely up to you, but you must take notes because this is what you will reference and you'll be able to use these notes on your test and your quiz. So please, please take notes somewhere, whether it be in the Word document, on the page, or on paper. All right, let's get started. Okay, my Algebra 1 classes, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Enough with the talk, the discussion, let's get to the math. All right, our first guided note packet of Unit 1, Interpreting and Evaluating Algebraic Expressions. All right, so let's break down what those words mean. We've got 3 important words that we're going to define here with respect to algebraic expressions. I'm sure that you've heard these words before. We're actually just going to put a definition to it, and I'll give you an example. So let's start off with variable. Think in your head what you think of when you think of variable. I hope you're thinking a letter like X or Y. So variable is a symbol for a value we don't know yet. A symbol for a value we don't know yet. By the way, I have terrible handwriting. You know that now. All right. So let's give an example. 2x plus 3. What is the variable in that example? It's the letter x. 2 times x. We don't know what x is. We're just putting it in as a placeholder because we don't know it yet. So x is the variable. All right, another example. Y minus 1. The variable is y. So it's basically the letter in an algebraic expression. This right here is an algebraic expression, and we'll define that in a second. All right, the constant. When you think of the word constant, like using it in a sentence like, I'm so sick of quarantining because there are constantly people in the house with me that I can't get away from, right? Constant just means all the time, never changing. All right, so as a mathematical definition, we're going to say a value that does not change. Another way of saying that, a number on its own, without a letter. A number on its own. Okay, so if I use this same example that I used up here, this 2x plus 3, then the constant is going to be 3. It's that number that's not changing. And then in the other one, y minus 1, the constant is the minus 1. You notice that the subtraction sign stayed with the 1, so the constant is negative 1. We'll talk more about that later in the lesson, but just know that the sign sticks with that number, right? Just picture that negative sign as a knife plunging into that number 1, so it stays with it. The constant is negative 1. That was a bit of a gruesome example, I'm sorry. All right, algebraic expression. An algebraic expression is a mathematical statement with variables numbers and operations. All right, so in our example of 2x plus 3, we already said the variable was x. We already said the constant was 3. What's the operation here? I hope you said addition. Remember the operation is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So our operation is that plus sign, addition. So the entire thing is the expression. The entire thing is the expression. Notice something that an expression doesn't have. An expression does not have an equal sign. An expression does not have an equal sign. If it had an equal sign, it would be called an equation instead of an expression. All right. Now I know you're probably wondering, what is the 2? We'll get to that a little bit later, but I'll go ahead and name it for you. You might already know from 8th grade math. But that number in front of a variable, we call that a coefficient. So if there's a number in front of a letter, that's called a coefficient. We can't call it a constant because it's got a letter attached to it, right? Constants are only numbers on its own. So that 2 is called a coefficient. All right, common keywords. So, of course, this is math. We'll be dealing with word problems later, but we're not going to freak out. We're going to take it step by step. So I want to create a list of common keywords that we know can go with addition, common keywords that we know can go with subtraction. So when you're thinking about other words that mean addition, what do you think of? I want you to pause the video and write down everything you can. All right. Hopefully you paused it. You're coming back. I'll give you my list. So the words I came up with were sum, plus, increase, and total. If you see any of these words, you know that we're talking about the operation of addition, right? All of these things are operations. And we know that expressions involve operations. All right, do the same thing. Pause the video and see if you can come up with what you, come up with some words for subtraction. All right, I bet maybe one of you out of all of my classes actually paused the video, but prove me wrong. All right, here are the words that I came up with. Minus, less, difference, decrease, take away. Oh, you guys think I'm done, but I'm not. I'm not done. I'm about to hit you with that deduct. Boom. Beautiful. Just try and get a word I didn't get. All right, multiplication. Again, pause, do your best, see if you can beat me. All right, coming back. I came up with times, by, multiply, and product. So if you see any of these words in some sort of word problem or discussion, we're talking about the operation of multiplication. All right, division, go ahead and pause and come back. All right, here were the words I got. Quotient. That word quotient means the answer of a division problem. So if I do 10 divided by 2, my quotient is 5, because that's the answer. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So the quotient is the answer to a division problem. I also have goes into. So if someone asks you how many times 2 goes into 10, it's a division problem, right? 10 divided by 2. And then obviously the word divide. All right, the only other 2 words I want you to consider here, and we'll get to these in a second, I want you to write down the word squared and the word cubed. So these are having to do with exponents. So I'm sure you've seen the term x squared or x cubed. So we're looking at this little number that's to the top right of the variable. That's called the exponent. So basically, if we're squaring something, we're multiplying it by itself. If we're cubing something, we're multiplying it by itself and itself again. So the x squared is the same thing as x times x. X cubed is the same thing as x times x times x. It's a lot of x's. All right, moving on. And again, remember, this is a video, so if you want to pause or rewatch something, that is your prerogative. Please take advantage of doing that. If I'm moving too fast or talking too fast, just pause the video, catch up, rewatch it. This is your time. All right, so write an algebraic expression, hey, we know what that is now, for each verbal phrase. All right, so for the first one, 5 times, that word times, what operation do you think of? I think of multiply. So 5 times x increased by 7. What operation do we think of when we see the word increased? I hope you thought add. All right, so 5 times x, what would that look like? If I take a number and I multiply it by a variable, I just stick them together. So 5 times x is just going to be 5x. So 5x increased by 7. So if I'm increasing something by 7, I already said that I'm adding, so I should just put plus 7. All right, pause the video and try the next one and then come back. All right. So if you got stuck and you didn't know what to do, I wanted you to look at the keywords here. So the keywords that you see are less and product. When you see the word less, I hope you thought of subtraction. When you see the word product, I hope you thought of multiplication. I'm just rewriting the word product. Wow, your teacher is super smart. All right, multiply. All right, so we know that our expression has to have a subtraction sign and a multiplication sign, right? So G less than the product of A and B. Did you guys see any numbers in there? I did not. But don't worry, we'll get through it. All right, G less than the product of A and B. So I'm subtracting G from the product of A and B. So remember, if I'm multiplying 2 letters, all I'm going to do is just stick them next to each other. So AB minus, because we're subtracting, G. AB minus G. That's G less than the product of A and B. All right, don't get frustrated. We got a few more. All right, 6 times the quantity of B plus 9. All right, times, I hope you're thinking multiply, plus, you should be thinking add. 6 times the quantity of B plus 9. All right, 6 times the quantity of B plus 9. Well, so I'm taking 6 and I'm multiplying it by B plus 9. So I can't just put B plus 9 next to the 6, right? So what I need to do is use parentheses. So I'm taking that 6 and I'm multiplying it by B plus 9. All right, this last one was one of those funny words that we talked about, cubed. And then the word minus, I hope you think subtract. All right, so if we're cubing H, we're going to write the little 3 up top, right? So H cubed minus the quantity W. H cubed minus W. All right. All right, I want you to get a little bit more practice with this before we come together for our next live session. So what I want you to do is problems 1 through 5 here. All right, so you're writing an expression just like what we did for each of these verbal phrases. So look for the keywords, use your chart, find what operation, and do your best to go ahead and write the algebraic expression. So you're going to have variables and operations, right? So go ahead and do that, and then we will meet for our live session and talk about your questions and go over your answers.